The meeting to order. If you'll please stand and join me in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, again we thank you for this opportunity to come and serve in our capacity as Commissioners of Wakulla County. Lord, I just ask that you give us wisdom and guidance. Ask you for your grace and mercy, Father, on our citizens here in Wakulla County. Lord, I ask that you just touch each one. I ask that you just, again, Father, give us wisdom here tonight to do the things you'd have us do, that it be your will, Father, that we do, not ours. Lord, we ask those things in your holy name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. And I'm going to ask Melissa, how do we need to handle this one item that's on here? Do we want to, before we move on?
Yes, there is a planning and zoning item number 14. Actually did just speak with the agent for that application, and staff is requesting that the item be continued at this time because a portion of the property that was included in the rezoning has been withdrawn. And so that leaves the issue that the advertisement for this public hearing does not include the exact parcel ID numbers and correct acreage. Okay. And the agent is okay with that continuing. Okay, so we'll just, when we get to it, we'll leave it on here and then we'll deal with it as a continued item when we get to that item. Okay, so we don't need to do anything now with it. Okay, under the consent items, which item is that? Jessica? Number 8? Yeah. Okay, we need to pull that because we have Kathy Asbell here who wants to speak to that. So if we can remove number 8 when it comes time for the consent agenda. Any other modifications? Ms. Arts?
Yes, I'd like to say something under awards and presentations.
Okay. Any other changes? I hear a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the first item is the public hearings. Number 1 is request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution and interlocal agreement authorizing Wakulla County participation in the Escambia County Housing Finance Single-Family Mortgage Revenue Bonds Multifamily Program.
I move to conduct the public hearing and adopt the resolution and interlocal agreement between the Escambia County Housing Finance Authority and Wakulla County, which provides qualified first-time home buyers a below mortgage interest rate down payment and closing cost assistance for low to moderate income citizens. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Sir, you want to? Are you Mr. Pipkins?
No, sir. As a matter of fact, I'm not C.J. Pipkins. My name is Elbert Jones.
Okay. Are you going to speak to us about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I am with the Escambia County Housing Finance Authority. That's quite all right. I know you were expecting her. I just want to speak on behalf of this resolution. The main reason I'm here, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, is to thank you all for your participation in our program. Over the years, you all have been participating since, I believe, 1997, which is as far back as I could find the records. I've only been there for going on 4 years now. But let me just say that this is no cost to the county. I'm sure you all are aware of that, but I always like to say that again every time I talk to one of our participating counties. In our last bond issue, we did close to $3 million in loans just in Wakulla County. It made interest rates at 4.79% available to the citizens of this county. Doesn't sound like much right now when interest rates are down under 3%, but a year ago that was the best rate in the state, and we will continue to work to have the best interest rate in the state. But it's been a good program, and we want to thank you for your participation, and I encourage you to pass the resolution.
Any questions for this gentleman?
Yeah. How many counties are participating in your program?
24.
24.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Are you planning on, do you think you'll be able to lower your interest rates in the near future?
Well, the fact of the matter is, with the economy the way it is right now, we are not able to issue bonds. And we need to get these resolutions approved just in the event that the economy does turn around and change, so we don't rush back and try to get it done at that time. But with the economy the way it is right now, it looks like a few months down the road before we're going to be able to issue again. We did issue in 2010, but we haven't been able to do it since.
And then I had asked our attorney a question, and I know she sent me an email that I just skimmed over. I had asked, even though we've had a good long-term relationship with you, are there other options? What are there lower interest rates anywhere else, whatever? And I think Heather was going to look into whether there were other housing finance authorities that we might want to consider.
And there are several, but Escambia is the only one that's real close to us. I think Leon County is inactive.
Leon County is in our program as well.
Oh, they are now.
They are,
used to have one, but they're now, I guess, inactive.
They have their own authority, but their authority has chosen to participate with us as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you for researching that. Thank you for coming to talk with us.
Thank you very much.
Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and secondly is request board approval to conduct the public hearing and consider adopting the proposed ordinance amending county handgun regulations.
So
Heather?
moved.
Hold on, Heather.
Hold on. Go ahead. If you want to get on the
Have a
table, I do
motion?
have one.
Yes.
Here, second.
Second.
Seconded. Heather?
There is one change to be made in the ordinance in section 6. It's on the second to last page. We had, in order to comply with the state law, we had struck the references to discharging firearms, air rifles, air guns, and things like that. After subsequent research at the request of Commissioner Arts, we didn't need to strike the air guns or the spear guns since they aren't propelled with gunpowder. So we have made that change to the ordinance and would request that you include that in your motion so that we're not striking those two types.
Are you a BB gun enthusiast?
No, but I don't want to take out any more than we have to.
I agree.
Okay, so we need to revise your motion to do such.
To, can I just say what she just said?
Yeah.
To leave in the air rifle, air gun,
And the spear gun.
and the spear gun.
Okay.
Consider it friendly. Well, before we move forward, because I know it's caused some confusion, could you just give a brief synopsis of why you're making the change?
Sure. In the 2011 legislative session, the Florida legislature adopted a bill which preempts and prohibits any local regulations on the purchase, sale, transfer, taxation, manufacture, ownership, possession, storage of firearms and ammunition.
This is less regulation.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's required by state to make us...
That is correct. We are removing our local regulations on handguns and ammunition.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is awards and presentations. First is a presentation by Wakulla County Coalition for Youth EYI Teens.
Hello, I'm Natalie Crown. This is Jessica Ottenbaker and Ryan Kelly. Ms. Gale, our director, and Ms. Lisa Russell, our facilitator. We're the Wakulla County students selected for a program funded by an Enforcing Underage Drinking Laws grant received in 2010 from the Florida Office of Drug Control, Engaging Youth Initiative. The Wakulla County Coalition for Youth was one of 6 coalitions in Florida that was selected for the program. This is a statewide initiative to engage teen leaders in the work of positive community change. The Wakulla County Sheriff's Office is partnering with the coalition to facilitate this program. The program was a year-long commitment with weekly meetings, trainings, and festivals to attend and a project to complete. Our focus has been to actively engage youth in our county regarding prevention of underage drinking. Now we'd like to present a few facts you might not know about alcohol. Okay, the legal drinking age at 21 was changed to 21 because many young adults were dying at alarming rates from alcohol-related car crashes. The change to 21 has saved up to 3,000 lives per year. Okay, and what we have learned through this program is that Our brains are not fully developed until age 25, and any substance that affects our central nervous system affects the way our brain is wired.
The truth is about teen drinkers. Teen drinker brain will be 10% smaller than everybody else's. They will be most likely become addicted to alcohol in the future. They will miss more school, be in trouble with law enforcement, and have more fights with parents. It's important to know that all teen drinkers do not drink. We just think everyone drinks because of what we hear from others and what we see on television. Most adult do drink responsibly. Nationwide, over half the alcohol consumed is by 15% of adults addicted to alcohol.
When teens drink, parents really don't get respect from the teens. Those who host lose the most. Most likely what that really means is when the parent hosts a party and the kids have alcohol or beverages that are not supposed to, most likely the parent really loses, the respect of, the teen. When teens drink, they go to the stuff that you usually don't use, like alcohol that you guys really barely drink. Stuff that's just from leftover parties, so most likely you guys need to throw it away. In reality, parents, they do talk, and teens tend to listen to their ideas. When you're exposed to matters such as parents, they drink in public, parties, banquets or something like that, their attitude towards drinking becomes, favorable. It's matter of their, you see it, you do it. Communities have a lot of established license to sell alcohol, and it's higher rates for underage drinking. Checking ideas to purchase alcohol is the #1 way to keep teens from drinking. For example, I work at a convenience store for Subway, and for them to buy beer, they have to be of age, so they show their ID and they scan it to the computer, so it tells you the date of birth and how old they are.
We have attended trainings with other EYI youth from Pinellas, Seminole, and Volusia and Marion counties, learning leadership skills and how to conduct environmental scans at festivals that sell alcohol. The goal being to find out how alcohol is being marketed and sold, and also to create a guide for best practices for festivals and public events. We presented our findings to the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth, and WCTV Channel 6 reported on our Engaging Youth initiative. We also participated with Franklin County's SWAT group, Students Working Against Tobacco, in a joint summit on St. George Island, and worked in many festivals in Wakulla, at the Be the Wall campaign booths.
Commissioner Lynn Arts and Mr. Douglas Jones met us to receive input for our age group about the new community center. We share ideas, and a survey was created for the middle and high school teams to give their options on how they would like to see it developed. We conducted an environmental scan of the practice of serving alcohol at the Stephen C. Smith Annual Regatta in Shell Point. Our Wakulla County EYI group hosted a weekend youth camp we call the First Leaders Summit. We're here as the group of Wakulla County kids who participate in leadership training and team build activities to help us to learn to stand up to peer pressure and speaking of health lifestyle. It was a great opportunity for us to learn how to be positive role models for our kids in our community. We had fun on the high ropes and teamwork. In the picture on the very, very bottom with the person climbing up that ladder, that is me. I'm very scared of heights, and when I first tried it a while ago, not on this camp, I didn't even make it up the ladder. Well, this time I made up the ladder, and I kind of, accomplished something, face your fears. so it was great.
Here we are practicing more teamwork skills. On the bottom left is we all had to stand onto a pole, and without falling off, we had to organize our names in alphabet. Yeah, that was real fun. The top picture, we had to figure out how to balance out the board without anyone falling off or stepping onto the ground. That was the longest one we have ever done. We had an excellent speaker who came and taught us leadership skills through playing at interactive games. We learned the facts about alcohol that we shared earlier from a really great teacher, Ms. Chandler, the leader of the EYI group in Charlotte County. We had an awesome counselor. We had lots of fun and made some great friends, while also learning to educate our peers about the dangers of underage drinking. We all got certificates saying that we've been to the Leadership Academy and having fun. Our next EYI scan is the Stonecraft Festival this Saturday. A positive result from the EYI scan report helped to create a county ordinance driven by the best practices, thank you, for special events. Okay. Shirts. Right. Thank you for taking this time to listen to our presentation. Good luck of considering the revised county ordinance, and please wear these EYI Viva Slater t-shirts with pride. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Natalie and Jessica, before you leave, the board, the commissioners, all got to see the results of your input and the survey you helped to develop, and that was circulated to 700 some youth. So they got to see the results of what you all were responsible for doing, along with the help of Detective Russell and Ms. Campbell. So now they get to actually see the people who did the hard work. Thank you very much for collecting all that, getting all that.
It was also, Miss Russell, she's the best, and also Miss Campbell. She helped us through a lot, so I also wanted to give thanks to them too.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you guys.
Ms. Crum? Okay, thank y'all. Next is the announcement regarding Florida Money Mentoring Program. Shelley Swenson.
Shelley Swenson, Wakulla County Extension. I was asked to just make you aware of yet another program that the Wakulla County Extension Service is offering in hopes of, staying with the needs and reflecting the needs of the Wakulla County citizens in the programming that we do. The University of Florida has launched a Master Mentor training program, and if you're familiar with the Master Gardener program, it is basically the same type of thing where a group of volunteers go through 20 hours of training, and are expected to return 50 hours of training back to citizens of the county. I have a job description that I'm offering to you so far for our training in November, which will be the 8th through the 10th. We do have 4 volunteers, and I'd like a few more if you know of anyone that might be interested in doing this. We're partnering through Mr. Brock's affiliation and encouragement with the United Way. They have tried similar programs in the past and have found that a series of classes in financial management just does not see the clients through the duration. Our program will be different in that the volunteers will meet one-on-one with families. They will help them organize for tax season. They will help them organize whatever budgeting needs to be done. We will give them all of the materials that are needed for working with the families or individuals, and we feel like it's a program that reflects what is needed by many people in Wakulla County. I ask for your help in promotion. I ask for your help in recruiting a few more people. And again, I thank you for making the Extension Service a part of Wakulla County. Do you have any questions?
What kind of person can volunteer to help out with this? Does it need to be an accountant?
Not at all. Matter of fact, we've enhanced the program that someone that comes with like an accounting background will only attend part of the training. So no, anyone that is willing to learn, and then we will launch them into a situation that they're comfortable with, the amount of training that they feel like they will get through this and what they can bring to the table. We're hoping that we'll do some team groups. We're hoping we'll work with senior citizens. We hope that we'll work with every point in the county in terms of now we'll have people to go to them instead of everyone coming to the Extension Service for services like this. Thank you, Alan. Yes?
Could you tell us a little bit more about the 20-hour training course? Is that evenings, daytimes? When does it meet?
Absolutely, and this, in a way, dictates the volunteers that we may get. University of Florida specialists will be with us 3 days during the day. It will be a 9 to 4 training for 3 days, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th of November. Yes, 3 days, daytime hours. Thank you.
Any more questions?
I'd like to make a comment. I think most of you are aware, but maybe the other people are not, that there is no one in our county who I think is a stronger advocate for people who are struggling in these difficult financial times than Shelley Swenson. She works tirelessly on the Feeding Wakulla Task Force and our food banks. This is another example of a program that'll help people financially, and
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, and it's the entire extension staff as well as the entire county staff. Everybody's on the same boat, trying to reach out and serve where we're needed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, you just stay right there because you're next. Announcement of the new Wakulla County Extension Director, Les
Harrison, I'm sorry if there's a print
You're right, it's a typo there. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. Come on up.
With a memorandum of understanding between the University of Florida and Wakulla County, we have a new County Extension Director. Les Harrison interviewed at the University of Florida, made it through the screening that the University of Florida offers. There was a team of people, including myself, that spent time interviewing and certainly felt like Les was the best person to meet the needs of Wakulla County in the position as our County Extension Director. You know, a county extension director doesn't just direct. She also has to take on educational responsibilities. So Les will be working in the area of small farms, natural resources, and of course Sherry's here to make sure that he holds up his end of a 4-H obligation as well, which is an expectation of the University of Florida as well. He has been working in the Leon County office, so it's always fun to pull people away from Tallahassee. There he worked as the Regional Sustainable Agriculture and Technology Agent, and because he had a regional position, he has spent lots of time with citizens of Wakulla County already. So we feel like we've got a very, very good fit for Wakulla County, and I know as well as you do and everyone in the audience, this man is going to be busy. So I'd like you to welcome Les Harrison as our new County Extension Director.
And I am truly looking forward to the pleasure of serving the citizens of Wakulla County with their needs, and my compliments to Shelley during this interim period, because she's been pulling double duty and calling me with questions like, Les, how many goats go on an acre? I'm looking forward to working with each of you. Any questions? Five.
I knew that.
I'm especially interested in 4-H. I think there's nothing that you can ever do than start working with the young people on 4-H projects. So that's my focus.
I am an alumni of Florida 4-H, participating in Nassau County, where my mother was a home demonstration agent during that period of time. I still utilize some of the skills that I learned at that time. I wired my barn based on a 4-H project, and it didn't burn down yet.
With a permit. Well, good.
And when do you start?
October 31st.
I also was very active in 4-H as a kid, believe it or not, even in Smith Creek.
Well, welcome, and we're glad to have you on board.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And next is the announcement of Hazardous Waste Day on October 29th. Joanne Palmer of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful.
Hello, thank you, Joanne Palmer. On behalf of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, I want to thank the Commission for their help and support with the annual coastal cleanup. We had 560 volunteers clean up over 5 tons of trash and debris. And as Keep Wakulla County Beautiful continues to work diligently to maintain this beautiful county, on Saturday, October 29th, we are hosting our Fall Hazardous Waste Day. And that'll be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Trice Lane, the Public Works Department building over ESG. Jefferson County Solid Waste Department has once again coordinated the on-site chemist, and a new company, Environmental Quality, out of Tampa will be collecting and properly disposing of all the materials that are collected. Next year, I know that Waste Pro is responsible for doing this, so I'm sure they'll be involved. They didn't have time this year to get it going, and it was already coordinated. We'll be also collecting this year styrofoam packing, peanuts, things that aren't historically collected, because that's something you can't recycle. It's not really considered hazardous waste, and I know that a lot of us collect those when we order things from Amazon or whatever. And Amazing Mail Solutions has offered to set up a table and collect those, and the single-use plastic bags, which we hope to get a lot of those from underneath your kitchen cabinet. And really, everybody says, well, I use them to pick up, this or that, but we don't want you using them at all. We want them out of the landfill. I have some flyers that are available. They're on the front table, and we hope to see you all out there. And if you have any questions, you can call us. Our number's on here. And thank you. Any questions? Any questions?
Take computers and TV again this year?
We're taking anything that has ever plugged in, anything that plugs in, any electronic equipment, household cleaners, and if you're not sure, just bring it. We have someone that'll evaluate it, and we take things, and we have a table as you drive through. There'll be someone to help unload your car. We have the cadets from the high school, the ROTC cadets work diligently to unload all the stuff, and they literally unloaded last year equipment that was made before them, and they looked at it and didn't even recognize some TVs that were the old console TVs. And we have a free table, so if somebody brings something and doesn't know what it is, and you see it on the free table, you can stop your car and collect it. But there's a list, a pretty good idea on the back of this brochure, or flyer, of what we take. So. Yes, TV.
I've been doing this for 3 years each time you do it, and I would never have realized it, but I collect almost a 5-gallon bucket full of small batteries.
Yeah, last year we had...
You wouldn't believe it, but little by little by little.
Right. Well, I suggest that people take a quart jar or even a gallon glass jar and put under your sink, and because the batteries tend to break down and they tend to leak, but if you have them in a glass jar, then that preserves it until our hazardous waste day. And the forestry department brought in over 300 pounds of batteries last year. Any kind of battery, anything that has acid in it, and particularly light bulbs. I know that we need to announce it to the schools, which we will get around to doing, because the schools all collect their fluorescent tubes and bring them at one time, because they have to pay to dispose of those. But this is a free, no charge to the public amnesty day. So if you have fluorescent bulbs, and please bring anything you have that's considered hazardous.
Okay. Give us the date one more time and time.
Saturday, October 29th,
What time?
9 to 1
On
40
Trice Lane.
on Trice Lane, right.
40.
And one of the only things you're not taking is tires.
No
Is
tires,
that
thank
correct?
you. No tires or medical, no medicine or sharps, no biohazardous waste, no medical waste. But it's my understanding.
Do you want to?
Okay. Bruce Ashley with the Sheriff's Department said there's a day, that same day they're collecting medicine somewhere, so do you know where?
Bruce, why don't you come up and tell us?
This will be our third this year. The Sheriff's Office will be doing a drug take-back day, and we'll establish 3 locations. We'll be announcing those. We're still in coordination with the locations. One might be the Health Department. But we're hopeful that, we're not hopeful, we will be doing drug take-back that day, and 3 locations around the county where citizens can bring any unwanted medications, any prescription medications that they want to get out of their home. We could properly take that off of their hands and dispose of it. There's a certain law that we're the only agency that can do that in our county, and we have to dispose of it a specific way through incineration. So that'll be happening, and I think there may be an announcement that day by the sheriff that we're going to be doing that every day of the year, starting that day at the Sheriff's Office.
Good.
So we're hopeful that that's all going to start on October 29th as well.
Because a lot of folks flush their medicine down the toilet, and that ends up in our
terrible
water
thing
system.
to do, and we don't want it in the home either. If it's not used, not needed, we'd love to get it out of the home, and we want to establish an everyday process. The sheriff's very important. We want to get that going in our county. We hope to announce that for the 29th. Every day of the year, people will be able to bring unwanted medications to the sheriff's office, drop it in a box. We don't ask for names. We just want the medication to be properly disposed of.
Good.
The other things that I could mention that we get occasionally at the Hazardous Waste Day, some people have brought mercury. Some people have brought fireworks. Now we're not telling people to do that. Fireworks have to be dealt with in a specific way as well by law. But if I'm there, and I'm usually there, I will take those items off of people's hands, and we'll make sure they get disposed of properly as well. But we don't invite that. But fireworks is something that does show up occasionally.
Okay.
So.
Tell them about satellite dishes. Remember last year?
Oh, and this year we'll be taking satellite dishes. So anybody that's got any of the old big ones or small ones, but basically anything electronic we can take. So that'll be good.
And last year, how many people did you have? How many vehicles? About 300?
Close to that. It was over 200, and we've averaged that almost every year, Commissioner. Right at that 200 vehicle mark, and we've got a good process. It doesn't take long. Some folks make 2 or 3 trips during a day that we have that, and it's really helpful to get all those things away from your home and not have them sitting there.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And thank you. Any other questions?
Thank
Hope to see y'all out the 29th.
Thank y'all very much for what you do for the county.
I'm not going to have to go shopping for months.
Hey, you can dress up now. Next item is volunteer projects on the Florida Trail. Michael Swanberg, Student Conservation Association.
Hi, Michael Swanberg with the Student Conservation Association. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk today, Commissioners. What exactly I wanted to tell you about a little bit that's going on in the Florida Trail. First of all, we've been sent down here with the SCA, which is the Student Conservation Association. It is one of the oldest and largest conservation organizations in the nation. It's been around for over 50 years, and its aim is to send young people, college age, high school age, and post-college age generally, out to national forests, national parks, any public land or agency where work needs to be done on the ground to give folks experience on the ground. A lot of times that looks like a small crew out in a national forest somewhere working on a hiking trail. But it can be anything from doing restoration, habitat restoration in like the deserts of California to doing invasive plant removal in New Jersey. So that's what we are. We're here with SCA. Our crew is me, Michael Swanberg, Michael Marchetti, and Emily Galanto are over there in the nice blue shirts. And we have been given the opportunity to come down here and work with the Florida Trail Association. So I'm sure a lot of people know what the Florida Trail is around here, but in case you don't, there's a trail that runs, will run eventually 1,400 miles all the way through Florida, starting in the Everglades, going all the way to Pensacola. It's been in the works since 1966, when a guy named Jim Kern, who lived in Miami, was tired of going to Georgia to do his hiking. He figured there was plenty of good hiking to do in Florida. Since that time, it has been built entirely by volunteers, which is a pretty remarkable feat. Let me just change my slide here. So volunteers coming out and doing things like this. Generally, a volunteer group will look like about 10 people going out with lopping shears and paintbrushes and going and clearing the corridor of that trail so that people can walk on it. It's a lot of fun. People come out for a few hours, and that's basically how this trail has been built since 1966. So, the reason I'm here is because it runs right through Wakulla County. It goes through the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge. If you've actually been down to the Riverside Cafe, we were there a few days ago, you can see a little sign that looks like my the little one in the bottom right corner there across the river, and it actually goes across the river at that point. You have to flag down a boat to get across the river to keep hiking on the trail, but that's kind of cool. And it also goes to the Apalachicola National Forest. And so this fall we're working on a project to maintain about 40 miles of trail that are going through the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge. And so I would like to send this invitation out to everybody in the county, in the community, to come out and give us a hand with it. We're going to be contacting a lot of people, a lot of groups and individuals. We're starting with schools, and we're starting with clubs that we've found in the area to give them the opportunity to come out and do a little bit of community service. It's a fun day. All you need to do is bring yourselves, and we'll provide all the tools and everything else for you. The other thing that I wanted to let you know about is, if you think that the Florida Trail sounds like a really cool idea, but working on it isn't quite up your alley, you can come out and walk on it. We've been doing this hike for the last couple weeks now. It's going all through the fall through the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge. It's called Appalachian Ambles. These are photos from just this last Saturday. We had about 13 people come out for this one, and it's going on every weekend this fall in the refuge, and starting in the spring it'll be in the Apalachicola National Forest. So anybody is welcome to come out and join us on those days too. So this is our contact information. You can also check out the FloridaTrail.org. That is where you can find all the information you need to know about this. We've got our information on there. We've got Appalachian Ambles information on there, and you can also email us at sca.floridatrail@gmail.com, and that'll go directly to myself and my crew, and we can get you more information about anything such as the ambles or coming out for a work hike.
Where do you meet? On the weekends, where do you have a meeting place that you meet?
It's starting from the western end of the refuge, and every weekend we're going 3 miles, 6 miles. We've got a couple of bigger days hiked, but we're working our way east, from west to east across, so every weekend it'll be a different starting point.
Are you asking about the walks or about the work on the trail?
I'd rather walk.
Were you answering about the walk?
I was answering about the walk,
okay.
Yes. And that's Appalachian Ambles. And for anyone who's interested in coming out and volunteering and working on it, that's going to just depend on where we're at. We're trying to keep ahead of the hikes basically right now.
And to be a volunteer, do you have a set time that you start, and it's every weekend you need volunteers?
Anytime we can work with any schedule. If you're talking about a group, we can figure something out during the week. After school, if it's a school group, we can figure that out. We just need to be in contact with you. We are going to be starting every Sunday volunteer day, so anybody, if you're an individual and not with a group but you think this sounds like a good idea, you can come out on that Sunday, and you just need to be in contact with us and we'll get all that information to you.
Did you bring any t-shirts?
We don't have any green t-shirts. Sorry. Any other questions? I think I covered everything I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next is the announcement regarding the recent Talcon water issues and public health concerns. Acting Health Department Director.
Thanks, sir. Good evening. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for the memo about his blue T-shirt day or blue shirt day. So, got to get at least one little chuckle out of tonight. It's kind of matching everyone here. I was asked by Mr. Edwards. We did a hot wash or a summary meeting where all the parties that were involved with this got together and we discussed everything. And he thought the best thing we could do is probably have myself get up and give an overall to you as the Board of County Commission of the events that occurred, what happened, and the status of what's going on with the rest of the public water systems in our county.
Excuse me a minute, Pat.
Sure.
Sir, can y'all wait or go outside, please? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. If you're not aware, we did have a boil water notice issued last week. It was issued on Friday the 7th, and it was rescinded or taken away on Monday morning. It was for the people that were on the Talquin water system. There was about 6,000 customers in our county. We have a minimum of 5. We have more than that, excuse me. We have 8 public water systems, but 5 major water systems. So it wasn't everybody in our county, but that's a large portion of our county. The situation that happened is they had done some testing on a well that is seldomly used, but it is used. It's used for about 30 minutes twice a day. That well was found to have fecal coliform in it. When that came out positive, the standard procedure is for them to go through then and do follow-up tests to see if there was a problem with that. Not always, but it can occur that there can be problems with taking the sample, with a lab analysis, etc. So they immediately do a follow-up samples. Excuse me. The water that does leave that well, in fact, that leaves all of our wells, is disinfected prior to it getting into anybody's homes. They did testing out into the system, and all of the samples that came back that were in the system, in the distribution lines, were clear. There was no fecal coliform found in the distribution lines, only in the wellhead. The well was turned on. The well was on in that period of time, so following procedures, they immediately got a hold of the Department of Environmental Protection. They immediately, again, following state law, said you have to put out a boiled water notice. They have very specific language, how it has to be worded and how it is to be sent out. The way it was sent out, it was sent out to all the media that's available in the county. So it was on the radio, it was on television, and it was in print. For other events, just if I can cover just a little bit of base, sometimes there's boil water notices, for example, if there's a water main break or something like that affects an individual neighborhood. In those situations, they will go out and they will go door to door and they'll put hangers on the door. So if you've ever had one of those hangers on the door, usually that's a very limited thing. With 6,000 people, I honestly believe they would still be hanging out the hangers today, trying to get them out to all of those residents. So that is something to be said for that. Each and every one of the public water systems is required to put out a document every year that's called the, I'm going to say it wrong, the Consumer Confidence Report. Sorry about that, Consumer Confidence Report. If you are on a municipal system, you get one of these. You've probably either gotten it in with your bill that comes or with some of the literature you get. It's a review of all analysis that they do that year. We have reviewed all of the public water systems' consumer confidence reports, and I can tell you that all of our systems in our county are within compliance. In this particular case, this is a single well that's on a system that has 3 other wells on it. The other wells were not found to be positive. All of our other municipal water systems, I'm saying it again, have had no issues at all. I've reviewed all their work for the past year. They've maintained their disinfectant levels. They all send to the health department on a regular basis their analysis that they do, and we do review it, including their consumer confidence report. But I had to get a revised one just to make sure that I looked through all of that. A question that was asked of me at the health department, people wanted to know what was going on with our private water systems, our private wells in the county. If you're on a private well in this county, your water is not tested. It's only tested when you pay to have it tested. And you can either have that done by a private lab, or you can have the health department test for bacteria, but again, you have to pay us to do it. I looked at all the samples that had been submitted to us over the past year, past calendar year from the date that this occurred. There has been no incident where there has been fecal coliform found in private water systems over the past year. We had maybe, I want to say, somewhere between 30 to 40 samples that we reviewed over that period of time. So again, we get those in regularly, and those come from across the county, from all the way from north part of the county down to south part of the county. The municipal water systems, going back to them, they test on a monthly basis for bacteria. They test on a quarterly basis and on an annual basis and on a 5-year basis for certain chemicals. These lists get longer and longer and longer. Again, if you'll look at your consumer confidence report, you'll see all the different tests that they run. So if you ever have an interest in your municipal water, take a look at that report. I think it will give you the information you need to know about what kind of testing is done. If you're on a private well and you want to have your testing done, the health department can do your bacteria testing, but if you want anything else, if you wanted to test for copper or selenium or nitrates, you're going to need to have a private lab do that. There is a private lab in Tallahassee. I'm not promoting them, but you can look them up in the phone book, and there is a private lab that is in the area that can do your testing, or you can even have that done you can send it by mail to labs that are in different parts of the state or out of state. I do recommend that you always go with, by the way, a certified lab that's been certified by the state of Florida. Watch out for some of the companies that are maybe out of state or other areas that are not certified labs. All right? I did also provide in the back of the room, and I'm going to be doing a couple talks around the county, some information about how to take care of your well. The Department of Health, we put this out, and it's just a quick little thing that helps people who have maybe not been on a well before or they're new to it, that tells them kind of the things how to protect their well and protect their water for themselves. In the end, the analysis from the health department is that everything is going fine. Mistakes were made. As always, communication could have been a lot better. But I think any major event that I've ever been involved with, in the end, that's what we always say is, geez, it sure would have been handy if you had called me, and it would have probably been handy if I had told you this, and et cetera, et cetera. But that would be the major complaint about what occurred in this event. But overall, I was satisfied with the reaction that DEP did and with what Talcman has done subsequently. That well is still offline, and it will be offline until they have determined if there's anything going on with it. And they've done multiple tests to confirm that there is no fecal contamination going on there.
So they did retest it. They only have one positive?
Yeah.
Obviously, I used to do a lot of sampling at the wastewater plant. Somebody could have slipped their finger into it after petting their dog, and it would have showed a positive fecal sign. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the groundwater is contaminated. It could have just been a sampling error.
When's the last time that you did a test on a well where you found the groundwater
to have E. coli in it?
Yes.
Okay. Myself, the last one I did was when we did some testing following the floods that occurred. What was our last hurricane that caused all of our storm surge?
205.
205. Yeah. We had a bunch of wells that were flooded at that point. And again, that's common. We put out a precautionary boil water notice after any of those events, because as soon as your wellhead's covered with water, the assumption is the water's running right down into it. And so we did find some E. coli then. We had them. We have them chlorinate the well. That cleared it up, and any subsequent tests have come back negative.
Man, the only thing that I ask, and I think this was relayed to you by the administrator, is you talked about communication, but in the future, the way I heard about it was when I turned on Channel 6 News, and it said Wakulla County has contaminated water, and it was a boil water notice. We just need to be alerted, and I don't care that I'm alerted first, but you need to be alerted first so that you can tell the rest of us that we may have an issue in our county. That's all that sort of frustrated me with the whole process.
I share your frustration, sir, and that was my biggest frustration because there was a breakdown there. I did hear from the head of DEP. It does us no good today, but it will do us good in the future, who called and personally apologized that the communication was broken down and they did not contact me. I, too, found out from a private citizen calling my office wanting some information about what they should do. And news to me.
Well, and we appreciate you coming and briefing us about it. And
sure,
that's what we want to do in the future. Hopefully it doesn't happen in the future, but
right.
Should it?
But I agree. Any large event like this, afterwards, you do need a debriefing.
Right. Okay. Sarge?
Yeah, well, thank you. I thought that was an excellent summary, and I know there's been a lot of concern in the community about our groundwater, our drinking water being contaminated. I got to sit in on that meeting, and there were a couple things that were said to me that I thought were interesting that I didn't hear mentioned. So may I provide a little information? I had hoped Talcman was going to be here, but I don't think they are they?
I don't think they are. I know the gentleman said he did have an appointment that he was not able to get out of.
Well, there were a couple mistakes made. That well, as as Pat indicated, is only used during high usage periods in the morning and the evening when there's a lot of demand for water. It was actually offline for electrical servicing, and when they did the first test that indicated that there was probable contamination, an error occurred that shouldn't have been put back online, and it was. And Talquin has reassured us that they have put procedures in place to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. Also, I know people were concerned that we found this positive several days before the boil notice went out, and it's my understanding that that is just kind of an initial screening, and then to actually confirm that there's harmful bacteria, they have to grow it on plates, and that takes several days till they can grow it and test. So they got an initial screening that was positive. They shouldn't have put it back online until they had the results of the plates and those cultures, and when that came back positive, the water had already been turned on. Talquin said there were probably only about 20 households that were potentially affected, all in the Spring Creek area, given the limited amount of water that comes out of those wells. So it was unfortunate that 6,000 people had to be notified when the threat was really probably just for 20 families. But that, once it's in the system, potentially, that's what it has to happen. They also made a mistake by not notifying Pad Juarez, and that's, again, I mean, it's in the law, it's in the statute that they're supposed to notify him. So that's to be corrected, and it was affirmed with all the water systems that they're supposed to notify him. And then the other thing that I found interesting is Talquin is working on a notification system that would be through your home phones. But you're going to have to give them information and permission. But in this situation, hopefully, if it should ever happen again in the future, they would have a way to leave a message on their customers' home phones, which will help to speed up the notification.
Well, just a couple notes. That is just Talquin that's working on it. Of the other 4 major water systems, I don't know if that's possible. Again, they have a much smaller customer base. One of those systems is very expensive to put in, but they are working on that. They are also looking at the possibility of changing the way they do their permitting, which is they're going to have telemetry that's going to tell them the chlorine levels in their water system, and so it will automatically shut off if ever that chlorine level should drop below a certain level. That's not in place yet, but that is something they are working on.
But this analysis that Pat spent time on in the last few days has, I think, hopefully will reassure people that this isn't, there's not widespread contamination or, even episodic contamination that's happening with our drinking water, at least related to the E. coli bacteria.
That is correct, and I have gotten with my counterparts in the other part of the state, surrounding counties, and they too have not seen any patterns developing, nor even just things popping up periodically. It's very unusual. This was a very unusual case.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
You're very
Appreciate that. Next is the update regarding Cager Posey Road closure. Mr. Elliott Varnum, our project engineer, or the project engineer.
Commissioners, how y'all tonight? The good news is that contaminated waste from the site is being trucked out of the Wakulla County and cleaning up the groundwater. The bad news is that they have encountered some hard lime rock, had to get bigger hammers for driving some of the pile. They've had, once they got into the lime rock, they had a lot of groundwater issues, and when they got up next to the building, they had some subsidence issues, so they had to back off and relay their LDA hole layout. So they're just running behind due to these unforeseen circumstances. In going through the schedule and things remaining to be done, the remaining of the excavation, the cleanup, and the restoration, it looks like it's going to be approximately November 21st before they finally get things cleaned up and everything removed and the road back in good working order. And I'm not sure what else I can tell you. When you're digging in the dirt down in the ground, you just don't know what you're going to get till you get there. And we respectfully request the indulgence of the county for this extended closure period.
Okay, fine with me. Elliot, are y'all just digging out from leaked underground storage tanks?
Yes.
Get the dirt out? Is the groundwater going to be treated there too, or?
Yes.
So you'll see the big...
The frac tank will be there, right. And what they're doing is they're drilling a LDA wall, creating, instead of driving sheet piles, they're pulling the soil out and backfilling it with flowable fill, and that creates a retaining wall. Then they're going in with normal excavation on the interior of that.
So they haven't started excavating the dirt. Now they're just
Right.
building that curtain wall.
Right. Yeah, and if y'all seen some of the equipment that's out there, y'all know why. I mean, it was some...
Looks expensive.
Yeah.
How long do those carbon filters have to stay in place? Is that something that
I think they're about a year.
Okay.
And that's what's over here across from the old Centennial Bank, I guess.
Yeah, I think probably.
That thing's been there for years.
I guess it depends on how bad it is.
Is there a plume that y'all are tracking, or?
There was a plume that was identified in the initial report that DEP funded, and based on that, then they identified the area that we could get to feasibly.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Arts, you had something?
Yes, I just wanted to thank 36 hard-working volunteers who helped plant wildflower seeds along the 98, the coastal highway, which is part of the Big Bend Scenic Byway, this past Sunday. So, hopefully, and they also did a lot of weeding. We saved that for the ROTC kids.
Thank you.
So in the spring and next fall, look, and hopefully you'll see a lot more blooms on the north or the west side of the road. So thanks again to everybody who helped out.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent. Yeah, we're going to have to pull that one off, and then we'll get Kathy up. Okay, the consent agenda, we had one item pulled, number 8. Is there any other changes? If no, I'll hear a
motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
motion made and seconded with number 8 pulled to approve the rest. Any discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now we'll hear number 8, which is request board approval of a proclamation declaring October 2011 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Wakulla County. Kathy, if you want to come up and address that.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart, Chairman Stewart, and all of the commissioners for permitting me to come and read this proclamation. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we do this proclamation every year, have for many years, declaring Wakulla County a violence-free zone from domestic violence. So I'll just read the proclamation. Whereas domestic violence is epidemic in our nation, state, and country, resulting in thousands of battered victims, traumatized children, and broken families each year, crossing all economic, racial, and social barriers. And whereas the children in violent homes are also in danger of victimization and are more likely to succumb to drug abuse, truancy, and emotional disturbances, and are likely to exhibit violent and unlawful behavior in later life than children raised in abuse-free homes. Whereas domestic violence is both a violation of an individual privacy, security, and humanity, and is a crime which impacts society as a whole, then we conclude that perpetrators of domestic violence must be held accountable for their actions, and not therefore you, Mike Stewart, by the authority vested in me as the chairman of Wakulla County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby declare the month of October 2011 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the County of Wakulla, and ask all our citizens to join together to declare the County of Wakulla a zero-tolerance zone for domestic violence. Further, we ask our citizens to work with established agencies and as individuals to provide women and children the safety which should be theirs by right. And I work for Refuge House. We work with domestic and sexual violence victims, and we do have a local counseling office. And
we really appreciate the chance to present this proclamation.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
I hear a motion to approve the proclamation.
Move to approve the proclamation.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brock, seconded by Ms. Arts. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kay. That, by the way, I still haven't heard from that lady concerning that presentation.
Oh, she
yet.
said she sent out those emails today.
But it may be today, so that's
Yeah,
possible.
she sent them out today because I talked to her this afternoon.
Okay, very good.
I'd also like to mention it was going to be a program on the 27th of October, and Commissioner Stewart is going to be bringing the ROTC. That is a NOPE, which is National, I'm not sure what it stands for, I'm sorry, but it's an evening that we're going to be honoring people that have lost loved ones to drug and alcohol abuse. This is in connection with Red Ribbon Week. Do you want to speak any more to that? It starts at 6:30 in Hudson Park. That's Thursday the 27th.
It's the candlelight vigil.
It is.
This will be, I think, the third year.
Yes, it is the third year, and this is also a national event, is this event. I know that Commissioner Brock had spoke at that before, and Chairman Stewart will be speaking this year.
Well, and I just want to put out there, NOPE stands for Narcotics Overdose Prevention and Education.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I have a computer in front of me. It makes it easier.
He's not that smart. It's Google. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the planning and zoning, and that's number 14, application for changing of zoning R11-03. And Melissa, we talked a little bit about this when we started, but I understand that we just need to continue it.
Yes, staff received a letter this afternoon requesting for lots 1 through 3 of Commodore Commons to be removed from this rezoning request, and those were included in the advertisement for this public hearing, so I would suggest that we continue the item.
Move to continue the item.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any more discussion? Anybody to speak on it? Howard Kessler.
Evening, Commissioners. It's all right. I didn't get the notice on a blue shirt, so I'm out of sync with you.
I could put one of them T-shirts on it, make it better.
They're looking mighty tempting, you know. Just a couple of things regarding this rezoning issue. I wrote a letter to the newspaper. I'm not going to go over all those points. But one thing that concerned me at the last board meeting was some comments that were made in dealing with having some struggle because there are friends on both sides of the issue. And I truly think that your decisions should be made in what is best for our county and its citizens, and not because of any friendships or financial gains. And I'll leave it at that, and I hope that you, when this item comes back, that you deny it and continue the good planned growth that we need for Crawfordville and Wakulla County. Thank you.
Victor Lambeau.
Thank you, Commissioners. I wasn't aware that this was going to be continued, but let me have my say now. I'd like to regress a little time, some time back. Before you were Commissioners, Wakulla Gardens were approved, and they had no planning and zoning at that time, and it was done piecemeal. And I think you know the problems that you have in Wakulla Gardens. You have problems with the flooding, you have problems with sewage, you have problems with the transportation, and I think our chairman, Mike Stewart, has been kind of the lead person on there, so I'm sure you're familiar with the problems. I thought now we was in a new age where we are planning so we don't get problems. We're not doing development piecemeal, where anything and everything goes, depending who wants it. Now this proposal's before you for and not 20 lots now, 17 lots now, is a throwback to those old days where anything goes. To prove this would be outrageous. And sometimes, you know, proposals like this cause very strange bedfellows. It appears that environmentalists and developers on both the extreme side of the spectrum are united against this. That should send a message to you that, and even your P&Z commission was united against this. I believe 3 of you commissioners, including our chairman, voted to approve the conceptual Crawfordville plan, town plan. I attended some of the meetings at the senior center where there lots of time was spent by staff, citizens, and contractors to develop the town plan. If you're approving this, you're saying that we wasted the county's money, staff's time, and citizens' time because anything goes. And that is not tax dollars you wasted, and every citizen's tax dollars. If you approve this, you might as well get rid of your planning staff, because if anything goes, why do you need them? That's a waste of money that I and other Wakulla citizens are paying in taxes that you're not going to utilize. If you don't need a planning staff, and if you don't do planning, you're going to turn 319 into a strip mall. Now, according to the purchaser of the lots, of the 17 still left, they bought them, and in less than 3 weeks or 2 weeks, they applied for rezoning. Surely these developers or the person that bought the lots knew that they were zoned commercial. You don't owe them anything to do it. If you approve this, you're going to pass on problems to future commissioners down the road there. There's going to be problems when you get that type of development and commercial right close together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mary Ellen Davis.
I represent Bush Fire Services Incorporated. They're the owner of the property that's leased to the Forest Service. Before I go into my speech, what do you mean continued? Until when and for what purpose? Where are we going now from here?
Well, the item would have to have a advertisement to come back before the Board of County Commissioners. Our code does require a 30-day advertisement notice.
So it's to be renoticed. That's
yes,
why you're...
that's correct.
Okay. I'll wait then.
Thank you. John Schuff. Thank you. Chuck Hess.
Well, I spoke on this last time, so I'll do it again this time. Bad idea. It's a good idea to continue it. It's a great idea to get rid of it. Get it off your agenda. This is not the right choice for the community, and I'm just amazed that I'm on the planning commission, and we don't agree on much, but this is one of the ones that we unanimously disapproved, and you're just ignoring your planning commission. That's telling me something. I can't see destroying the vision, the town center, just because of somebody that just bought bought lots from foreclosure when he knew they were commercial. He knew what he was getting when he bought it. This is where we have to do our development in the future. We need to keep it this way. This needs to stay commercial. Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion by the board? All for the motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so 5-0 passes to continue it. All right. So we'll move on now to general business. Mr. Edwards.
This agenda item requests board approval to award RFP number 2011-22 for information technology services to Inspired Technologies Incorporated. On September 9th, request for proposal was released. The RFP was advertised on the county's website, the Wakulla News, Tallahassee Democrat, Staff received inquiries from companies as far away as San Francisco, but primarily in the southeast, Atlanta and Jacksonville areas. The bid closed on September 29th, 2011, and we had 2 responsive bidders at that time. One was Maximum Extent Incorporated out of Maitland, Florida, and the second response was from Inspired Technologies. Both vendors were invited to participate in an oral presentation. The evaluation committee met with those folks, and the committee consisted of Mark Dunlap with the Clerk of Court's office, Deborah DuBose, Tim Barden, and Jessica Welch from our office. And I also sat in on that meeting as well. Basically, our recommendation is to go with Inspired Technologies. Our budget impact, which came in, will be saving $8,100 less than we spent in 2010 and 11. And we request the board to approve our information technology services contract.
Move award RFP number 211-22 for information technology services to Inspired Technologies Incorporated, and authorize the chairman to execute the contract.
Second. Motion and second to approve. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
I have a question, and I'm sorry I didn't get to ask this when we met. In addition to the monthly charge, there's a charge for public records searches that exceed 1 hour, correct? $50. Did we have that in our old contract? And then secondly, how often is this? Is it if it exceeds 50, if it exceeds an hour in one day, or per one request, or 1 month, or per request? So, okay, so they could get 10 large requests in a day, but as long as each of them was under an hour, there wouldn't be a fee. Okay. And was that in the old contract?
I'm not sure. Was that?
I think so. I think it was.
I think it was.
But I don't think it's ever been charged. But it was in the old contract at $75 an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
This agenda item requests board approval of resolution and budget amendment, attachment 1, accepting the LAP agreement funds for the Big Bend Scenic Byway and interpretive grant. There you are. Pam's going to get up and speak the rest of it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is actually a 3-part request. On June the 21st, you approved the LAP agreement, which was the local agency partnership agreement with DOT to accept these Big Bend Scenic Byway funds. This is a National Scenic Byway grant that was approved for us last year. So, so we came to you and asked to be the applicant because there's a small amount of what DOT considers to be construction on the signage, and that requires a LAP agreement, which requires a local government. So you had approved accepting those funds, and our chairman signed that agreement, so now we're ready to move on getting the work done. So first, we're asking for approval of the resolution that basically sets up the account for that grant funding. That's just a typical thing that we do for every grant. Number 2, according to my amended contract, in order for me to receive any additional pay for work I do on grant projects outside of normal TDC grants like Visit Florida grants, I get a work authorization form approved by you, so that's attached. This grant was the application and budget included a little over $8,000 for project initiation, reporting, and documentation. So that's what I'm asking for, is approval to be paid those funds to basically administer the grant, up to, by the way, up to that amount. And then the third request is the request to advertise the RFP for consultants to perform the actual project. Background information tells you what the funding is for. It's to produce 4 video tours that interpret the main themes of the byway. It will update and print 20,000 copies of the Guide to the Big Bend Scenic Byway, develop and implement the Byway Ambassador Program, and then fabricate and install 62 tertiary signs that identify attractions on the Big Bend Scenic Byway. So this is phase 1 of our way showing an interpretive plan implementation.
Move to approve resolution and budget amendment accepting LAP agreement funds, approve work authorization for additional TDC director services, and approve advertising a request for proposals for the Big Bend Scenic Byway way showing and interpretive plan implementation phase 1 grant.
Second. Motion and a second. Ms. Art?
Yeah, I had a question for Pam. Which, for the benefit of the public and also to refresh my memory, would you tell us what the main themes of the Big Bend Scenic Byway are? I think there are 4. Is that correct? Okay.
It's waterways, woods, way of life. You got me. No. Wildlife, woods, waterways, way of life. Those are our 4 themes.
Okay, because the reason I was asking that question is in the agenda item, it says that there will be a production of 4 video tours that interpret the main themes of the Big Bend Scenic Byway. So when I read that, I was thinking there would be 1 video tour related to wildlife, 1 on woods, 1 on waterways, 1 on way of life. But when I read the RFP for the consultants, it looked like all the videos, I'm sorry, but with it on computer, it takes me a little more to find it. Under the scope of work, the second item, oh goodness, it makes it sound like it's all related to the maritime heritage.
Well, a lot of it will be. If you did you attend that?
No, I wanted to, but I wasn't able to.
Because that, I mean, it was the theme of that symposium was maritime heritage, but it included wildlife, woods, way of life, all along the byway, so that that will be kind of a beginning point for the video tours, but it won't all be just maritime heritage. I mean, it will definitely cover the 4 themes of the byway. But that symposium and the report that came from that is really going to be kind of a starting point for drafting those itineraries.
Okay. Although I might be a little more comfortable if the RFP, if the scope of services was made reference to the 4 themes.
Okay.
I mean, just so it's not so linked to maybe that 1 symposium. I don't.
Well, it's definitely linked to that symposium and that report, and in terms of the information that came out of it, as well as the attendees and contacts that we got for, the people that would actually be providing some of these tours. So,
was that in the original grant proposal?
The Maritime Heritage Symposium? Probably not. No, I don't.
Or
think
that the videos would be based on that? I'm just asking.
No, it's that they would be based on the 4 themes. I'm saying the symposium included our 4 themes, but I'm happy to, if you want me to add that to that section, I'm happy to do that, because regardless of whether they take the information from the symposium or get additional information from elsewhere, there's still going to be the 4 themes of wildlife, woods, waterways, way of life.
I think I would feel more comfortable if it was more general about the 4 themes, and also just to make sure that people can bid on it who maybe weren't so linked to the Heritage Symposium if that wasn't part of a grant. I'm just... Well,
but the tours need to be linked to... Because that was the beginning, that's the beginning of the Big Bend Scenic Byways effort to start working towards these tours and itineraries, not knowing whether this grant was going to come about or not. We began to, look at other ways to pull this thing together, and now this is funded. So I want very much for the consultant to use the report that came from that. They don't have to have been at the symposium to be qualified or experienced. They just need to be able to use the information and the contacts that we got from that symposium from all the charters and people that are interested in doing these kinds of tours. The large piece of it's coming from that symposium.
Okay. Okay.
So what do you want to do, Lynn? I'm not sure I understand what you wanted to change.
Well, to me, and again, maybe this is just me, if other people don't see it, it seems in the item itself, it talks about, we're going to have 4 video podcasts highlighting the 4 themes, and then when I get to the scope of work, it just reads differently, and maybe I'm not so
I'm happy to include those 4, I can name the 4 themes, but I don't want to take out the fact that I need them to be using that symposium report as part of the way they develop those tours and itineraries.
Okay, because
I can add.
I think if we're going to cover if we do 1 video podcast per theme, I would feel comfortable with that. When I read this, I thought they were all going to focus on waterways. So
no. Because no.
Okay. So I may be, and I'm sorry I wasn't there, so I didn't get the full information about
that wouldn't have answered this particular question for you, being at the symposium. So I will add that statement to that 1B.
I would appreciate that.
The county is not, is the county putting any money into this? This all comes from awards and grants. Second question.
There's match, but it's not county. It's not the county's.
Where are you marketing? Where are you doing your marketing for Wakulla, let's just say? Forget the Big Bend, which is Wakulla, but where are you doing your marketing? Where, other than here?
What? Are you talking about with this grant?
Are you talking about with this grant?
I think this grant's, I think he's talking about
this isn't a marketing grant.
And basically in general.
Well, we're doing it through...
These videos, where are the videos going to be?
Well, these are for the Big Bend Scenic Byway, and they're more of an interpretive piece than a marketing piece.
And where will someone find those?
They'll be listening.
They'll be available, on YouTube. They'll be available through our website, and hopefully actual podcasts people can download so that when they're driving the byway, it's an audible tour that they can do. It's also, it's going to serve a dual purpose in that we'll have these videos, but we're also actually developing tours that tours, charters and green guides and things can use to actually take people out on tours. So it's kind of a dual purpose here. But the question about marketing is separate from this. You're talking about TDC in general.
I'm just talking about basically how are we marketing the county and who to and where. Just other than this. Just tell me, how are we marketing the county?
Well, we do it through all kinds of ways. We have print media that we do magazines and publications that are of regional significance or themed in areas that we think are appropriate for us. This year we've done some billboard advertising. We did some commercial time. Regionally, they were this region, but it was not just, here. We've done our promotional materials are the tear-off maps and the rack cards, and we take those to travel shows and the visitor centers on I-10 that are all the, the state welcome centers and distribute that way. This is just kind of off the top of my head. I got a whole PowerPoint presentation that I can show you of what we've done with our
I think with the
TDC
Tourist Development
money.
Council is doing a lot of great things. I would recommend maybe you set up an appointment, and because it could be an easy hour conversation.
Or just look at that PowerPoint presentation I did for the Tourist Development Tax. It names out exactly what we've been doing.
Probably need an hour.
Okay? I'm happy to give you an hour. Perfectly fine with that.
Okay, let's got a citizen to be heard, Chuck Hess, on this item.
Chuck Hess, speaking for myself. You know, I got concerned when I heard about this maritime being the only issue on the podcast system. And I hope everybody recognizes that we live in one of the most important ecological areas in the country, not just Florida. Okay, we have more rare species, more sensitive habitats along the scenic byway, and if we don't take advantage of that and market that effectively in this system, then you're losing and you're missing the boat. Thank you.
Highlighting all of those intrinsic resources. So it's not a maritime heritage. I mean, I apologize if it looked that way, but we take good care to research and document and promote and interpret all of the incredible things along the byway, because you're right. It's like no other place in the world.
Okay, any more discussion? All for the motion?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And next is, that's all the general business, Mr. Edwards? That's it. And next is the commissioner agenda items, Commissioner Arts.
Okay. Thank you. Let me get my item here.
This should be a no-brainer. You really suck it up.
I'm having trouble bringing it up, sorry. I can do it from memory, but I'd rather not. Okay, here it is. You all know that sinkholes are numerous and very important to our springs and our water quality. And back in 2006, the Chamber of Commerce took the lead on developing a karst protection ordinance which established buffers for sinkholes and other karst features such as springs. And that will help to prevent damage to sinkholes and other karst features, but some of our sinkholes are already degraded. And we've had some impressive restoration efforts. Cherokee Sink is one that is particularly dramatic. They reshaped the sides, they put in a lot of vegetation, a lot of plantings, they created a boardwalk, and so they limited access in ways that wouldn't be damaging. And then Cal Jamison, our Springs ambassador, has done a lot of, in addition to being involved in that, many other sinkhole restorations, some of which he includes on his sinkhole tours. And he's the one that actually brought this issue to my attention, and also Captain James Hodges, who's concerned about a sinkhole on a neighbor's property, because of our current karst protection requirements actually unintentionally serve to prevent certain intensive restoration activities. So he had been talking with planning staff, Summer Strickland in particular, and it was felt that the best way to address this was to make an addition to the karst protection ordinance that's in our comp plan, that's now incorporated into our comp plan, to state that it doesn't prohibit restoration activities that are under best practices. And the one sinkhole that I have some pictures in here shows you, it's the sinkhole's mostly on private property, but it actually extends out into the right-of-way close to a road and under electric lines. There are ATVs that ride along those under the power lines, and they've actually been, there you can see the pictures, they ride down into around the sinkhole, and they've created this break in what would be the normal side of the sinkhole, and there's a terrible erosion problem. And the proposal for this particular sinkhole is to, go back one, Jessica, is to build like a retaining wall there and bring what's eroded down up out of the sink, because right now the water quality is terrible with all of this erosion. And then there will have to be some additional things done to try and, beside planting vegetation, probably some signage or maybe even some fencing. But right now, even though we've had all these wonderful restoration projects in the past, and we have Mr. Jameson's expertise to do this, and lots of willing parties, the owner, the neighbor, right now our Karst protection ordinance is not allowing it to be done. So,
Second your motion.
So anyway, I'm moving to direct staff to and the county attorney to revise our Karst protection requirements as the first step, and then also to draft codes that would allow and specify how sinkhole restorations could be done.
Second.
Thank you.
Second. Citizens to be heard on this is James Hodges.
If y'all approve everything, I don't feel the need to speak, but thank you very much.
Well, we may not. You may need to, this is a time for you to come convince us that we need to.
I'm the charter boat captain that lives across the street from this sinkhole, and what we've got is power lines and four-wheelers and motorcycles that ride up and down it, and they have a choice. They can either go down through the sinkhole and come up the other side, or they can go around it right by Highway 61. And anyone that goes out there, you'll see that there's also an issue with Highway 61, the erosion right on the side of the highway. So either way, it's a lose-lose. I don't know if there's a law against four-wheelers riding up and down the power lines. I think there is, but I'm not here to worry about that. I just want to stop the erosion, reverse the damage, and I'm a certified green guide, and all the green guides have volunteered to help restore this just using our backs and buckets and shovels. And I think that's really the best way to do it, and I think we can get donations of plants and whatever we need. There's no real money involved except for whatever it takes to change the ordinance. We've got people ready to go. We just need permission to go, and we can restore this sinkhole and get it back to its natural state as soon as possible.
Okay.
This is amending the comp plan, right? Not just an ordinance.
It's a two-step process, amending the comp plan, and then you'd have to put it on.
So it'll be a several-month process before this is actually implemented. If we got to review the comp plan.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank
you. Jenny Brock?
What's that?
No, next citizen.
Jenny Brock, 311 Old Magnolia Road. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak. I have had a conversation with the staff leadership at the Florida Wildlife Federation, and I am representing their opinion that this is a good thing. We particularly like your verbiage using best practices, and I hope you will consider approving this. Thank you very much.
Chuck Hess?
I'm not opposed to this or anything. It seems like you could do this with a variance to the ordinance, and you can just go ahead and proceed with a variance and make this a lot quicker. And isn't that potentially possible?
It's a comp plan.
I know. Well, no, but our protection, you get a variance to the protections for this type of activity that would go through the planning commission. So that just seems like a faster way to do it.
I think I tried that with the wetlands and it didn't work. Welcome to the game.
Carol, he didn't sign up, but this is the item you were going to speak on. If
I think we're going to approve it, Lynn, and we need to talk about it more.
I don't think you need to beat it to death.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. The only thing that bothers me in all of it is the budget impact in the way it's written. It's that it may exceed the 10-hour threshold. I just want to make sure we're not going to go crazy with this and spend 100 hours on it and end up, you see where I'm going?
Well, I see where you're going, and I hope that it wouldn't be very expensive or take a lot of time. I mean, we aren't doing the equivalent of the wetlands ordinance. I think some of it will depend on our new planning director and our planning staff. Summer Strickland, and they'll be able to do a lot of the work, and then there's going to be some attorney time.
Shouldn't be, I mean, this is not rocket science, adding this in here to restore a sinkhole. I can't see anybody opposing it, so.
What I'd like to see is put some sort of measurable, if we,
Well, I'm not directing. I'm not approving. Right now, I said it would come back to the board if it looked like we were going to need more than 10 hours.
Okay.
So.
You said that.
Yeah, it says, should it be approved, the board, I'll tell you, approve additional legal expenditure.
That's fine. Okay. I'm fine with it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's, I mean, there's tons of these things out here we need to be able to address and work on. So, yes, I'm good with it. Anybody else got any comments? If not, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay? And now we'll stop here and pick up with the citizens to be heard. Hugh Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For a while now, excuse me, citizens have been accused of character assassination as they've raised questions about the Tourist Development Council. Since when are management and policy concerns character assassination? I think it's a pretty strong term given the fact that citizens have been proven right over and over that the TDC director's contract has had to be rewritten because of citizen concerns and may need to be rewritten again due to those concerns, to other concerns. Now it turns out the TDC director is ineligible for group insurance. By questioning through public records, citizens have saved this county from a pretty significant potential liability. It was citizen oversight in each case that brought these mistakes to light, and not the actions of this board and/or staff. So where's the character assassination? Questioning a budget where 75 to 90% of the funds go to the director and not to tourist services is not character assassination. Questioning why when Visit Wakulla is Googled and Visit Tallahassee comes up first in the ranking is not character assassination. Those are policy and management concerns. Questioning a no-bid single-source contract for videos for $38,000 is not character assassination. Questioning why those videos don't work on the website is not character assassination. Questioning health benefits given to the TDC director contrary to this county's group health insurance policy and her contract is not character assassination. And taking that insurance away is not character assassination. Those are management decisions. I would remind you all that citizen oversight has saved this county hundreds of thousands of dollars. For more information on this, citizens can go to www.wakulla411.com later in the week for more information. Thank you.
Howard Kessler.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, I only have two things One is, I'm concerned, and I have been concerned about the process related to the taxes and fees that were implemented, and the job that we did as a county in getting out the word to people in our county that might qualify for certain exemptions. And I personally have visited over the last couple of weeks homes in which citizens on a fixed income are trying to live off of $600. These people don't have computers. They don't have access to a lot of things that we take for granted. And I think that when you move forward with such things in the future, you should keep those folks in mind, and whatever it takes to get that word to them, whether it's a letter, whatever it is, I think they deserve that. The other thing is, you all been having Pam come up and speak to different issues tonight, and CCAL has its meeting this month, this coming Thursday. Social starts at 6:30, and at 7 o'clock, Pam Portwood is our featured speaker and guest. So I would hope that, especially you commissioners, whoever has a question concerning Tourist Development Council and Pam Portwood, would certainly show up. Invite you to come to our meeting held at the library. Look forward to a nice, informative evening. Thank you.
Okay. County Attorney, you have any items?
None today.
County Administrator? I'm good. Discussion issues by commissioners. We'll start down here with Mr. Merritt. Any?
Yes.
Okay.
I brought this, I guess David, when he first came on board, I had wanted to pursue looking at absolutely revenue neutral on this, but lowering the millage rate with ambulance assessment. So whatever, if we can lower the mill and then do this assessment. In my mind, Jerry, I know you kept talking about revenue neutral. In my mind, this past budget year, this one we're going into, was hitting the reset button. So I think, carry it going forward. Are y'all still interested basically in pursuing that, I guess is what I'm trying to ask. Looking at doing what's it called, a MSTU for ambulance service?
It's actually a statutorily authorized tax assessment. It's apportioned similar to how you would see your fire assessment, but it is actually a tax. Since you're now in a RASIC, you have the ability to do that. And the first step in doing that will be to approve EMS in the resolution of intent that you'll be considering in December.
And if we want, we could put some sort of language wherever it needs to be in the resolution that this has to be revenue neutral. I'm just trying to think of ideas to spread the tax base out and try to get away from property taxes so much. If y'all are willing to pursue it. I know we talked about it before, but
I would be interested in seeing some comparisons, some analysis.
I don't know what needs to happen to get the ball rolling. And I'm bringing this up way in advance of next budget year. We couldn't do anything until next budget year. But
I think we need to do a study. I think that by required to do a study, right?
Yeah, the first step would be the resolution of intent. You can do that without any study because all you're doing is preserving your option to put this tax on the tax bill if you decide to go forward. It's a 2x4 in the door. It's not an obligation. The next thing you would want to do is put an RFP on the street to find a consultant to come up with a rate study for you.
We couldn't, I think I asked about this. We couldn't piggyback on like the fire MSBU. I hate spending money on studies.
It's a similar analysis, but it's completely different call data, different types of usage, and you want to find a way to track
more occupancy, not just calls.
Not to scare anybody, but is this something we could do in-house? Or, I mean, does it say you have to hire a consultant
No,
to do this for you?
it does not say you have to hire a consultant. I don't know if you
Does it have a methodology and saying you got to show this and this and this to justify it? Or
It has to be a reasonable methodology that apportions the cost based upon the benefits provided to the property. So that is your statutory guidance.
Well, it sounds like the framework could be similar to the impact fee, for example. That's apportioned. I know it's different, that it's capital cost versus service cost, but, you know.
It may be. Some of the issues you run into, though, are, your impact fee is based upon square footage of a structure. With for example, you have a large warehouse, you're going to have a lot less occupancy in that versus a large retail store. So, you get into some equity issues on how you want to...
Don't want to expose ourselves to getting sued because we have a sorry study, but I don't want to spend a ton of money, either.
Well, the only reason I brought it up is I know it's required, and I think that up to the point where we see the study or see how much the study would cost, I think that's where that conversation would happen. But I know it's something that's going to happen for it to move forward.
Maybe we could direct David or somebody to just kind of nose around and see maybe what this study would cost before we even... I mean, if we're talking about $100,000 study, whatever. I know it's not that much, but...
I mean, you could try and get quotes, but it's also just... It's not a big cost to the county to just put an RFP out and asking for prices. Then you're that far much further down the line if you decide you do want to go.
But I don't want to pursue this if y'all don't want to go along with it.
What is this for?
This would be, for example, every tax bill in the county would pay a flat fee for ambulance. Everybody paid the same thing. And instead of, right now we're paying for it out of ad valorem taxes, which is the tune of $1 million, I think, Tim? Somewhere around there?
Yes.
So we're paying $1 million out of our ad valorem taxes for ambulance. We used to have an ambulance MSBU years ago, but I think that the Supreme Court or whatever said it couldn't do it. Now we can. We're in a RACIC, so we could lower our millage rate by assessing this ambulance and taking it out of the ad valorem taxes. It's not I
think it's worth looking
new
into.
Tax, or I would only support it if it was revenue neutral. If we take $1 million out of ad valorem, we need to lower the millage rate enough to equal that. It's just, in my mind, it's spreading out the cost of county services. But if y'all don't want to do it, that's fine too.
I think everybody said they're willing to talk about it. At least
I haven't said anything yet. Don't put words in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, sorry, sir.
I'm not for it. I'm back to what I've talked to the administrator about is I want us to work smarter and harder about how we collect our ambulance billing and look at the idea of privatizing the thing, which has been talked about for years, and we never gotten serious about that either. But I think we can get smarter about how we collect. I think that's what we need to work on. I'm not. You say it's not a new tax, but it is a new tax. I agree, Randy, that it's spreading out, making a flatter tax, but I'm not going to put anything else on this. I'm not going to vote to put anything else on the citizens.
Well,
Y'all can do what you want.
If we can pull some costs coming out of ad valorem by increased billing effectiveness, that gets you the same result, that we're able to lower the millage rate.
I agree. I don't.
So that's fine. I mean, I'm not throwing myself off the cliff over this.
Okay. That's where I'm at.
Just an idea.
So.
Well, I'm interested in looking at it, but I also agree with Mike that we need to, I'm not so, well, I think we do need to try and increase our collections, but there are also some other ways that I think that I'd like to try and work on over the next year, and that is to have our ambulance runs, have a greater proportion of those being for true emergencies and not so much the transport. And Alan's shaking his head no.
You can't tell people no.
But that's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
There are some, for example, I've talked to Fran, and I think in some cases, I don't know if there would be a way to do it, but if you could drop, if it's the difference between taking an ambulance to Tallahassee or giving somebody a voucher for gas, that those kind of ideas need to be considered. And I know there are some places that have worked out agreements with, for example, Wakulla Urgent Care, where you try to, instead of taking them to an emergency room or a urgent care center in Tallahassee where they're going to have a wait, there's an arrangement made where they can be transported to a local facility. They have to sign a waiver or release to do that, but they're guaranteed quicker service closer to home for those cases that the emergency personnel would feel comfortable doing that. So I think we need to try and explore some ways to do
waste
that.
anyone's time either. So if it's, it seems like we all agree that we do want to improve efficiency and maybe lower taxes that way. So I'll just drop it. I don't want to waste staff time and just to get a price for something we're not going to do.
I have a question. Who pays for the medical facility down in Panacea? Is that who pays for that?
The Federally Qualified Health Center.
We don't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
Some of your ideas are interesting. Well, I want to get back to, I said we have to drive people. If someone calls an ambulance, we're legally obligated to take them to Tallahassee if they say they want to go to the hospital. I've never heard of the idea of giving someone a gas voucher, but I'm afraid that also lead to, and I don't know, it's the first I've heard of it, but my immediate reaction is that might lead to more people trying to take advantage.
Well, I know, and you have to look at all the issues. I know they frequently have the situation of a car, like people driving over the bridge and calling from a telephone and leaving their car there. I know. So,
what does that gain?
They want to go to TMH rather than the Franklin County Hospital.
When we get...
So maybe if, I don't know.
How they got to the bridge.
Well, they have the car, but they don't want to drive any further. And then there are situations where they have a family car, they're following the ambulance when it could have been the car taking them. Or,
I've heard of people getting out of the hospital and going straight to the bus stop. And there's all kind of bad stories.
Right, who don't stay in the emergency
liability lawsuit situation waiting to happen.
Well, but I think we need to do some research about because I think here's what my concern is. We increasingly have all of our ambulances out of the county, either going to or from Tallahassee. And when somebody needs one quickly, there's not going to be one here for them. So unless we can afford to put more ambulances out in our county, which we can't, then I think we need to look at some ways to try and make sure that we're using our ambulances to transport sick people as much as we possibly can.
I agree. I had a lengthy conversation with Fran about this exact thing too.
Well, can we agree to ask David to go forward with trying to better collect, increase that percentage? I mean, I know we can do better.
According to the spreadsheet I saw, and I just went over it with Will, it jumped up pretty good bit.
It did, but I think we can do better, and I want to really look at this privatization idea, because I think that is a doable thing that can really, because there are groups out there that know how to collect Medicare and Medicaid.
You're talking privatizing the collections?
Yes.
Not the ambulance service?
No.
Okay.
Just the collections. And bear all of our arms on that, and then I think we can do much better, maybe get it up to a number where we're not supplementing it from the general fund, and then we can put some more money away to add an ambulance. I think all those things can come to fruition.
I think we need to move as fast as we can to privatize the collections. And basically quit talking about it, because private collections, they can collect. We're not able to.
And they work on a percentage basis, and that's what they have an incentive to do better. So.
And private collections, there's two different parts of it. There's the initial collections, and then there's the collections where after they tried 3 times, and there's a second stage of another group that can come in.
It's hard versus soft collections, and you can draw the line wherever you want when you're structuring a contract.
So, say like David, that's the direction we want to go. Okay, any more else, Andy? Alan?
I want to talk 2 things. One, I did want to plug, it was mentioned earlier, but I thought it'd be nice to remind everybody, the St. Mark's Stone Crab Festival is this October 22nd. from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in St. Mark's. If you haven't been there, it's a great time to go be with go socialize, see the second oldest city in Florida, and have some great food.
See some crabs.
And see some crabs. I also want to push. Earlier tonight we were advertising the bid for the one of the phases of the Occoquan Bay Bike Trail. I wanted to stress again that I'd like to see us do the other phase that's ready, if possible, hopefully at our next meeting, advertising it. So I know we're not allowed to advertise them at the same time, but we can do them and have work going on at the same time. And I'd like to see that happen.
I have something. We had a presentation earlier tonight on alcohol and children and teenagers and so forth. I do have a friend who is a PhD child psychologist, by the way. But anyway, this person told me that he could look at a small child or a young adult coming down the hallway and know that that child had a fetal alcohol syndrome, and that was because of the mother drinking during pregnancy. So it's terribly important that mothers refrain as much as possible during pregnancy, because it's just so obvious of those children where it comes from a mother who actually drinks too much.
This is just an information update, I guess. The Shands, University of Florida and Shands have art in medicine programs where artists actually provide various types of treatment services to inpatients, and they got funding to reach out to rural counties in the Panhandle. They started off with Franklin County about 4 years ago, then they expanded to Gulf and Liberty, I think, and now they're going to expand to 5 more counties, and Wakulla is going to be one of those. The funding is going to come to the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth, working with artists and the Healthcare Task Force, not to do art in medicine or art in healthcare because we don't have a hospital, but to do more community outreach. And one of the outcomes of this may be the formation of an arts council or arts alliance or coalition. But there will be a lot of community programming that's done with health as the focus, but by local artists. So that's kind of interesting new venture.
Sounds like a good committee for Miss Arts.
Well, there's going to be quite a few people working on it. And I had something else I wanted to say, and something else I wanted to discuss, but I can't think of it right now. I'm sorry.
Think about it. We're not quite done. Just so the public and the board knows, the first 2 weeks of our new garbage collection, they picked up over 50,000 pounds of recyclable material. That's absolutely amazing. That's probably 50,000 pounds that we didn't do before. I don't know how much went out to the landfill, but I can't imagine that it was 50,000 pounds worth. So I know in my house we're doing our part to try to start recycling, and that's good to hear. The other announcement is there's an ROTC fish fry this Friday night, the 21st, from 4:30 to 7 down at the high school just before the Swanee-Wakulla game. And if you'd like to come, it's called a fish fry, but actually we're cooking shrimp. So Noah Posey's doing that, and as always, it's delicious. And we've sold well over 1,000 tickets already. So you want to come and get in line early, we'll be glad to have you. So
how much did it cost?
$7. And you get a full meal. So
when is that?
This Friday night at the high school, just before the game, 4:30 to 7.
Be there.
Okay, you think of it, Lynn? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. We're done. Thank y'all.
I still.